Chapter 39, Recollections of My Mission. 69 through 71 is when I went on my mission. Like I mentioned in the book, I was 20 when I went out because I played a couple of years at Rick's, baseball and basketball. And I think that was an advantage. I really do. I was a little older and had a little more experience, so I've mentioned that before, but that was an advantage. Going out when I was just a little bit older. Several additional ideas came to my mind as I read that chapter. The first one is, since that's what you're doing on the mission, is serving and trying to get folks to listen to the message of the restored gospel and trying to impart that to them and have them become a part of it and affect their lives positively. That is what you do 24/7 for 2 years. And so obviously that enhances your knowledge of the gospel, particularly the scriptures. You're studying the scriptures every day. And so my knowledge of the scriptures and knowledge of the gospel and insight into the gospel grew exponentially on my mission. I had a testimony before I left, but my knowledge and testimony deepened big time on my mission. I think that's very typical for most missionaries. It has been said, and I believe it's true, that you get closer to your Savior on your mission maybe than any other time in your life. Now, that maybe shouldn't be the case, but it very well could be, because of, like I say, you're totally immersed in the service. Whereas after you get home, you go to school and you're dating and getting married and jobs and mortgages and bills and everything comes into play, and the 24/7 concentrated effort on the gospel just isn't there anymore. And so I think that's very possibly true, that you get closer to your Savior on your mission than maybe any other time. We'd like that not to be the case, but it very well could be. I mentioned I was a zone leader for 13 and a half months in East St. Louis. One of the things we're responsible for as zone leaders is working with the elders in our zone. I had 2 district leaders, and they had 6 or 8 elders under each one of them in their districts. And so we had probably 16, 18, somewhere in that range in my zone. But every quarter, or I think it was quarter, we had to have a zone conference where the mission president and his wife would come, and we would go to a church, local church, and hold these zone conferences. Well, being the zone leader, I was responsible for organizing those zone conferences in my zone during those 13 and a half months that I served in East St. Louis. And that was, that took some preparation. I remember we made some banners. One in particular I remember was "Feed My Sheep." The Lord asked Peter, if he loved him, and he said, "Yea, Lord, and thou knowest that I love thee." And the Lord said 3 different times, "Feed my sheep," or "Feed my lambs." Well, that was the theme of this particular zone conference, and that one stood out to me. There were several others, but we made some banners, and we had some music, and we had talks, and we had seminars and scriptures, and that supported all of that kind of supported that theme. So at any rate, that was a great experience to organize those zone conferences. Some experiences, and I think maybe I've mentioned some of these before, but being the zone leader, we're trying to get all of the elders in the zone to increase their activity in terms of teaching discussions and placing Books of Mormon and meeting members and all of those activities that are so important to missionary work. Well, we tried to I tried to come up with an incentive program. So during the end of P Day, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday, we would hold a district meeting in the district that I was in. I'd go around to the two districts that I was in charge of and attend their district meetings at the end of the preparation day on Monday. Well, I wanted to come up with a program where we could, spur the activity in Zone 5 there in East St. Louis to increase our effectiveness and so forth, finding more people and teaching more discussions, placing Books of Mormon and all of that sort of thing, tracting. So during the district meetings, the district leaders, both of them, were avid skiers, and they suggested, well, how about if we went skiing on a preparation day? And I thought, well, I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but hey, they were avid skiers, and we had several elders in the zone that were also avid skiers. And there was a ski resort, Galena was the name of it, not very far from East St. Louis there. And so I said, hey, okay, let's set some goals here, and if we can meet these goals over the next, I think it was 3 months, 2 or 3 months, something like that, in terms of tracting and placing Books of Mormon and teaching discussions. If we can meet those, we'll go skiing on a preparation day. All right, so we got that in place. They were enthused about that. They wanted to participate there, so they did. The participation was universal. They really took to it, and we were successful. There was more activity, missionary activity, and discussions and all of the sort. Well, they met their goals, so we decided a date, and it was in the winter, obviously. And we went to Galena and went skiing. Well, these guys were avid skiers, in fact, very good skiers. I was not. I'd never been on skis before. Played basketball my whole life. The coaches never let us ski. They break your leg and you're done for the year. So this is the first time I'd ever been on skis. Went to the Galena, Illinois ski resort there. By the way, it was the only resort, according to them. I hadn't been to many ski resorts, but the shop there was at the top of the mountain, and you skied down from the shop, as opposed to most ski resorts. The lodge, whatever, is at the bottom, and you go up on a rope tow or a gondola or whatever, a chair, and go up to the top of the mountain, and then ski back down to the lodge. Well, it was just the opposite there in Galena. So we got there right when it opened up. I think it opened up around 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And I told them I'd never been on skis, so I got to learn a little bit. So they came over, and we snow plowed and a little bit, and learned how to stop a little bit, and going down the bunny hill. In fact, I went up the rope tow, where you grab the rope and it carries you up in a little gradual hill, and you ski down a little bit. That was for us beginners. But after a very short period of time, I got pretty confident and did okay. Then we went up to a next higher hill, and it was steeper and a little higher, a little longer, and so forth. And then after a few minutes, a few times down there, I felt pretty good about that, but it wasn't very steep. At any rate, to make a long story short, these two district leaders, Elder Cox and Elder Adams, they beckoned me up to another hill, and it was much higher. And so I, okay. So we went up there and started down this longer, much bigger hill, and come to find out it was the expert run, the diamond run, or whatever they call it there. And it got steeper and steeper, and I was snow plowing and trying to slow her down a little bit, and I got going fast and too fast, and as I was going too fast, the ski guy, the ski patrolman for that area, came skiing past me, and he turned around on his skis and was skiing backwards down this hill, and I'm going forward, and he beckoned me to sit down, but I was going so darn fast I didn't dare sit down. It was going too fast, so I went past him, and he came past me again, turned around, and he said, "Sit down." So I sat down in the snow, and and it finally got it to a stop. And he came up and said, "How long have you been skiing?" I said, "Oh, about an hour and a half." He said, "Really, an hour and a half? Well, you were doing okay there." But anyway, these two district leaders, Cox and Adams, came down, and they were just giggling. They were just laughing their guts out. And the ski patrolman cussed him out, one up one side, down the other. He said, this guy could have gotten hurt or hurt badly, so he chewed him out pretty good. Anyway, so that's my first and only. I've never been on skis since. I mean, I've loved it. It was fun. But I chose to play basketball instead of skiing. So, by the way, on the runs at Galena, if you didn't stop at the bottom of the hill, you'd ski right into the Mississippi River. It was right on the Mississippi River. I remember that. It was tiring, but it was your fun. It was great fun. Now, here's the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to like to say. A few nights later, I got a call from the mission president, and he said, "Elder Larson, I understand that you and your Zone 5 went skiing the other day." I said, yeah, on preparation day we went skiing. I told him about the incentive program and and we had been successful in placing these Books of Mormon and teaching the discussions. He said, "Well, I appreciate your innovative approach, but let's not do that anymore. I could see all of Zone 5 with their legs in the air, breaking everybody's leg, and the work in Zone 5 coming to a screeching halt." So he wasn't mad or anything like that, but he just let me know that probably wasn't a program we wanted to pursue. So there's my first, last, and only skiing escapade there. Sister missionaries. They were either the best missionaries in the mission or the bane of my existence. There were some sister missionaries that were just absolutely the best. They were superb missionaries. And then there were a couple of companionships that, they'd call me incessantly. They were upset with each other. One was using the curlers of the other one, or their hairspray, or they didn't like each other, or they were, somebody said something that the other one took umbrage with, or whatever. It was just one thing right after the other. I was going over to their apartments all hours of the day and night, trying to soothe things so that they could, get back to being productive missionaries. Well, in fact, one of them even said, "I'm going home." I had to talk with her and visit with her. In fact, I even had the mission president come to talk with her to try to dissuade her from going home. Right from Zone 5 there. She wasn't going to go back to the mission home. She was just going home, and I think we talked her down from that with the help of the mission president and so forth. But she never was, a really, really productive missionary. She never adjusted really well. All right, so there's sister missionaries. Let's see. Oh, well, this is kind of a negative thing. Two of my best friends on my mission was an elder by the name of Jerry Seabold, another one by the name of Paul Cox. They were also my district leaders in Zone 5 there in East St. Louis. Good friends of mine. I went out with Paul, and I think Jerry came one group earlier than we were there. So, but great guys. I love them to this day. I love them. However, toward the end of their mission, they came up with a plot or a plan to take a mission car and go down to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. I found, after a day or two, I'd call them, they weren't there, and their companions were together as companions, but the two district leaders weren't there. After calling them a couple of times, and they still weren't there, and they were still companions, or the junior companions were companions, I, finally discovered what had happened here. Well, as much as I hated to, we, breaking those rules and that sort of thing, we had to send them home early. So at any rate, they're great guys. Jerry Siebold was my roommate when I went to BYU after I got home from my mission. He's still a great friend to this day, but made a kind of not a very good decision there to go to New Orleans with the other district leader, and at any rate. So there's another little deal there. All right, let's see here. What else? The adjustment going on a mission, the first 3 months, is a real adjustment. I mean, you've never done that before. You've never experienced anything like that before. And so the first 3 months of a mission, any mission, is tough. The adjustments, living with a companion and 24/7, and the routines that you have, getting up and studying and teaching discussion. I mean, it's just different than you've ever done before. And it was a little difficult adjusting those first 3 months. Coming home is also an adjustment for most missionaries. That's, getting back into a routine, a quote, more normal routine than the missionary experience, takes some adjustment, and it's difficult for some. I didn't have a great, the transition going was, I remember that was a little tough, but it wasn't terrible. Getting home, that was a little tough, but that wasn't terrible either. But some missionaries really have a difficult time adjusting, going and coming. Having said, going out, saying your goodbyes, like I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of goodbyes. Never have been, never will be, and that was tough. Coming home, that was an exciting time. As I mentioned, Reagan's coming home here in about 10 days from now, February the 9th, and I can tell from his emails that he's excited about coming home. Any missionary that says he's not excited to come home is either lying to you or crazy. Yes, you have mixed feelings. You love the people that you've served and your teaching and your companions and all of that. That's a great life. It's a great thing. But anybody that says they're not excited to come home, I think they're lying to you or they're nuts, one of the two. It's an exciting time. It was really an exciting time. So, mission, great experience. To my grandchildren, I commend it to you. Set a goal, particularly you males, grandsons. Couldn't be more proud of you when you decide to go on a mission. Prepare for that mission. Go to seminary. Get a job. Save some money to defray the costs of that mission. If you have saved some money and put some money into it, it'll be much more meaningful than if you just rely on your parents or your grandparents. And I know my parents helped me. I saved some money. My grandparents helped me. My parents helped me, and for them, I'm eternally grateful. But prepare yourselves physically, mentally. Learn how to cook. Learn how to do some things that you're going to need to do on a mission. Young women, granddaughters, if that's your choice, I would be so proud to say that you are going on a mission. Look forward to it. If that is your choice, then that's a wonderful thing. I commend it to you. It's a great 2 years, 18 months in the sister's case. Thanks very much.